My name's Nicole, and we are live on ActivityHero. Thank you for joining us today. For class, we will have a new class every weekday, Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. You can check it out ActivityHero for the latest schedule. We're going to be adding lots of more classes and time slots for you and have some great teachers presenting for you. Joining us today is our very special guest, Alyssa. She is from Art and Soul Palo Alto, and she is going to be doing a great art project with you. And you know, she has worked in the design industry for over 20 years, and she's an art educator and exhibits art nationwide. So I think you're going to be really excited about her class today. So now I'm going to turn it over to her so you can start your art class.
Well, welcome everyone. I'm so glad you're here. I know the weather in the East Coast has been kind of iffy. It's hard to get outside with social distancing, and art is like the perfect thing to be able to do in small groups with your family and to do on your own when you just have time. So today what we're going to look at is the way that rhythm in music can also be seen visually in pattern and in showing motion in line and shape. So you can see I have a couple examples here. This is the project we're going to be working on today. This is kind of my inspiration board up here. I always like to either look at Google Images or look through magazines or books, and illustrations and picture books are actually a great source of inspiration for me. But we can see here how the dancers have created through the line of the arm and the legs and the flare of the skirts in this picture, a kind of a rhythm or a pattern. And you can see how it might be A, B, A, B, A, B pattern. Up here, it's a little bit more random and angular. So the curves here are more in a swooping fashion, and up here in a more angular fashion. So what I'm going to do first before we actually begin is I'm going to play a very short piece of music. And I want you to either listen or close your eyes and listen and see if you can't find the beat or the pattern that you hear in the music, because that's what we're going to try to create today visually in our art project. So give me a second, and I'm hoping you guys can hear that. Shake your head if you can hear the music. Can't hear the music? Let's see if I can turn it up a little bit. So the beat is kind of, okay, so what we're going to try to do is create that rhythm in our movement today. What I did is I found in my magazine some different colors. So I want to make sure that I have a skin tone color. This is a piece of a magazine that I think was, if you look at it closely, it looks like it was rocks or dirt, but it's a nice kind of a dark brown gray color. I found another one that, this was from a catalog. It has kind of a color of wood, but I thought that might be a nice skin tone color too. And then I have a couple other pieces I'm going to use probably for the dresses here, or if you wanted to put some kind of costume on your dancer. This has purple and green in it. This one I thought was really pretty because it had lots of turquoise. So I'm going to give you a couple minutes right now to flip through your catalogs or magazines, rip out a couple pages. They don't have to be cut so nicely like this. Just you'll probably want to have 3 different colors and then a skin tone or 2 different skin tones. I'm going to help you make one dancer today. I think that's all we're going to have time for. But then what I'd like you to do is create the repetition of the dancers in either patterns of 3 or 4. And you can either have your paper go vertically, or when you create your composition, it could also go horizontally. But take a couple minutes now and just collect the paper that you want to use for your palette of color. Like I said, maybe 2 or 3 different colors for the costume, and maybe 1 or 2 different colors for skin tone. And feel free to chat if you have any questions. I can answer your questions on the chat function. If someone can just let me know when they have everything kind of collected and ready to go, I'll be going on to the next steps. I want to give you enough time. It's just hard for me to see everybody working. I see a lot of faces, but I don't see a lot of workspaces. So there is a question about, does it have to be a dancer? It does not have to be a dancer. The reason I chose dancers is because I really wanted to teach you how to create that rhythm. So if you look at line in motion, you can see here how it really is like the movement of a dancer. So what I'm trying to get everyone to do through the dancers is to create this kind of line movement. You can also see how shapes can create in repetition a certain rhythm, the way music creates beats and rhythms. So no, it does not have to be dancers. Yes, and printer paper is okay. A couple other differentiations in the lesson could be to do a collage of a still life. So this is one example of a still life. The other thing is to actually find a piece of artwork. This is from a master artist. This is called Girl with the Pearl Earring by Bamir. So you could also use this and then kind of copy the coloring, almost like fill in paint by numbers with collage technique. So those are two other ways that you can use the same technique today. If you wanted to put, there are men in these dancers as well, and they have kind of little vests and hats and ties. It's not so much today about the gender of the dancers, it's about the movement and the repetition and the rhythm of what we're creating. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is start with the next steps. We're gonna start with the body parts before we start with the costumes. I want you to notice that the arms here are not just stick figure arms. So we're not trying to make a body that is stagnant. What we're trying to do today is to show motion. So by showing motion, we want our lines to move. They can move in an angular way. They can move in a serpentine way. So what I'm going to suggest is that we're going to cut out arms and legs. If you wanted your arms to be serpentine, you're going to take the letter S and you're going to stretch out the letter S to make a nice long shape that can either be an arm or a leg. If you're more interested in doing the angular form, you're going to, I'm sorry. I thought I had all that turned off. Okay, if you're more interested in the angular, you're going to do more of a lightning bolt shape for your arms and legs. So these are the two shapes we're going to cut out first. You're going to take your skin tone. I know I need to cut out 2 arms and 2 legs, so the easiest way to do multiples of cutting is to fold your paper. And I'm going to now cut this paper into 2. So I have a folded piece here and a folded piece here. This is going to make 2 legs, and this is going to make 2 arms. Now, if you stand up really quickly and you touch your shoulders and then stretch your arms all the way down to your sides, you will see your arms touch your thighs. So we want to make sure our arms and legs are long enough. We don't want to make little Tyrannosaurus Rex arms. We want to make sure they're nice and elongated. So you can draw with a pencil if you want, or you can just cut. So I'm just going to cut my S. I started at the bottom and I'm working my way to the top. So you can see how my shape has been cut. Now I'm going to make it almost like a bubble cut. And I'm going to cut another one. Now by folding my paper in half, I automatically now have 2. Okay? So I'm going to make 2 arms and 2 legs. I have some already cut here. So I have a set for 1 dancer. 2 arms, 2 legs. So you can go ahead and do that. Your arms and legs could also be pink or purple or green. They don't have to be skin tone. Be creative. I'm just setting out the example. I want my students always to show me their own personality in their artwork. So I'm not asking you to copy what I'm doing. I'm just asking you to take the learning and apply it to your own creativity. I'm just reading some questions. For those of you who are still gathering your materials, this is going to be recorded and put on ActivityHero, so you can go back and look at the directions later as well. And don't worry about the noise because everyone's muted on my end. So I'm hoping you can hear at your own home if your brother's in the background making noise. Okay, I'm going to move on and I'm going to show you how to make the heads. So I use this as a template. A template is like a tracer. And I take my pencil and I'm going to trace on the inside. Now this is a big scissors, so this gives me the perfect oval for a head. If you have a smaller scissors, you can also use the loop, but I would almost trace on the outside of the loop. And this is what I did. I traced that onto my skin tone and I added a little box at the bottom for a neck. So we're not making paper dolls today. We're making dancers that are showing us movement and rhythm, so that adding a face or hair or anything decorative to the head is not necessary. You can see here, there are some hats here and some jewelry and ties that are helping to show the motion by having them flop up or flop down. Those are things you can add to your dancer at the end. So after you get 2 arms and 2 legs cut out, you're going to cut out your head. And so you'll have a head that looks something like this. So right now I have my pieces on the table in front of me. And I am going to give you a little time to cut out your head. The next step is going to be to take the colored pieces you've collected. So I have this colored piece. And I'm going to start ripping it into small pieces. And by a small piece, this is about the size of my fingernail. So you can see I'm going to rip up a bunch of little pieces. I actually have ready some little cups. So I put my red and orange pieces in a little cup. I put my blue and purple pieces in a little cup. And I put my green and yellow pieces in a little cup. Now, you may have different colors. You don't have to put them in a cup. You can put them in a little pile right next to you. That's a fine way of working. But I've now created my materials in an area in front of me that I can easily access. So I have my 2 legs, my 2 arms, my head, and the color that's going to create the costume and maybe the background when I'm ready to start gluing. Let's just see what we have here. Okay, well, I can slow down. I see maybe I'm moving a little too quickly for everybody, but we're already at the halfway mark. So I want to just make sure that we can see the directions. We can always go back to the recording later. I know it's a little frustrating with this format sometimes, but we're all figuring it out as we go. So again, for the earlier learners, cutting with scissors may take a little bit more time. I'm just here to kind of give you the format and you can complete the project at your own pace. All right, so I'm going to start thinking about how I want to lay out my composition. So I don't want to put my first body right in the middle of my paper if I know that I'm going to add more dancers later. The more dancers you add, the more repetition you're going to get and the more feeling of that rhythm and motion you're going to create in your artwork. If your goal today is just to learn how to collage, one dancer is fine. You can also do it, as I said, as a still life or copying another piece of artwork for inspiration. So I'm going to start here with my glue stick. Generally, I ask people to put glue on the small piece of paper, because if we put glue on the big piece of paper, we sometimes see the glue and it's less neat. Now, I know it's difficult, but my technique is to take my small piece, run it across the glue stick, keeping my fingers as clean as possible. And then I'm going to place my head about halfway on the page. my head doesn't always have to be straight. If you're dancing, your head might be swinging side to side. So you could move your head at a little bit of an angle too, if that's what you choose to do. The next thing I'm going to do is start building my costume. So I could take a pencil, and I have a pencil here that's a light color so you can see it on the black paper. And I might want my dress today to be kind of flowing. And this could be a costume of any sort. It could be have sleeves on it. So here I'm going to add a sleeve. But now I have kind of a little bit of a sense of where I want my glue to go. Now, before I said I always put the glue on the small piece of paper. This time I'm actually going to change that rule a little bit, and I'm going to put glue where I've just drawn. And I'm going to start taking all of these little pieces of paper that I tore. I did not cut with the scissors. I tore them with my hand, so they have irregular edges. And this helps create that rhythm we were talking about too, because what's going to show now is the undulation of the torn edge. So I'm overlapping these pieces so that I don't see any black paper coming through. You may have white paper today. I'm going to then just complete my costume. And this may take you a little time. I have all my supplies ready to go. I know you don't, so you may be ripping your paper right now. That's okay. But you can see how I'm starting to grow the costume that my dancer is wearing. If you want it to be different on the top and the bottom, so I have red on the top, maybe I want it to be blue on the bottom. Because I have all my torn pieces of paper, I can change that. I could also become a costume designer, and I could maybe make polka dots on the bottom with my torn paper, or striped costumes. It's up to you how you want to create your dancer. Oops. Some of my pieces just flew away. All right. So the technique for any collage is the same. You can use torn paper or cut paper. You can make your own colored paper using magic markers or colored pencils and then cut it up. You can use construction paper. You can use newspaper print. You can use menus of old takeout menus. Anything you have around the house. I like using magazines because it has the color. If you have construction paper, that works nicely too. All right, so I've created my costume here. I gave my person some sleeves, and now I'm going to think before I glue down the arms and legs. Now, the reason I want to think about it is because I either want to show how they're all in sync, where they're creating motion and they're all doing the same thing, or I want to show that they're kind of dancing in a crazy fashion. Here in this example, I have them dancing in a crazy fashion. One arm is down, one arm is up. This one has both arms up. This one has legs kicking back. So I want you to think about music that you may be listening to, or music you've heard, or a beat that you can think of in your head, and then find the position that you want to put those arms and legs in. So I have my piece here. I'm going to go back to the technique where I'm putting my piece across here, my arm, and I'm just going to see what it looks like if I put my arm up. With the sleeve, that looks kind of funny because I already have the sleeve facing down. So I'm going to put my arm facing down, and maybe this next one I can have facing up. Let's see. So I'm putting glue on my arm, and this one I'm going to tuck in so it's facing up. And now I'm going to look for my two legs. I'm going to do the same thing, draw my leg across my glue stick. If my fingers get too sticky and it's hard to put stuff down, that sometimes happens, I have a little paper towel that's just damp, it's not sopping wet, and I can just wipe my fingers off. And that'll keep my hands from getting so stuck. And then I'm going to experiment before I put this down. Do I want this leg kicking up? Do I want her standing? how do I want to put that? So I'm going to put this here. It looks like she's sort of leaning back right now. Her head's back, her arms look like they're forward. I'm really looking at the motion I'm creating with these lines of paper. This leg is a little bent, so I'm thinking what I want to do is have this, kicking up maybe? Or do I want it kicking this way? So here is my first of maybe 3, 2, 4, how many dancers you want to organize on your page. Now my next dancer may be overlapping this dancer, but I'm going to follow the same kind of procedure that I did before. So I already have my pieces cut. I understand that you guys still may be cutting, and that's fine, but I'm just going to show you how I'm going to assemble the next one. This one is going to be next to her. This arm is going to be in front. So when I do my costume, I'm going to put her costume behind. Could also be a man. Maybe this one, maybe I want to actually make this one have pants. So I put my glue down to make pants. And I'm going to make this one have greenish yellow costume. And what I mean about putting it behind is that this arm is still going to show. So I'm going to tear these pieces as I go. And the arm is still showing. And then I think I'll give him some blue pants. Nope, no, I'm gonna give him red pants because this is blue. I don't want this to be blue. So I just corrected my idea, thinking that this would be a better way of showing. And he's actually gonna be wearing shorts because I still wanna show his legs. If you want him to have pants all the way down to the bottom, that's fine too. So right now he's missing his arms and his legs. I just see I have a little hole right here. I want to make sure he has his whole torso. His torso is this middle part of his body. And now I'm going to add some arms and legs. So I think I want him dancing with his arms up. So I'm using my glue stick. I'm pulling my leg across, or my arm, sorry. And his arms are up. And now he's got some shorts on. And I'm going to add his legs. I think I'm going to move this one over here. And then I'm going to have this one kind of kicking up. So you can see now how they look like they're dancing. They could be dancing on a stage. They could be dancing in a field. If I wanted it to look like they were outside, I could start creating a sky up here of blue. I could create a pattern just with random shapes up here to fill my background. It's up to you as the artist how you want to complete your artwork today. I know it's been kind of a quick lesson, but I hope you can take away some of these ideas between cut edges and torn edges, of overlapping shapes, of pattern and movement in line and shape. One of the things that I mentioned earlier today is if you have older siblings or if you have more time in your day and you want to try a different technique, it's always nice to either set up a still life or find an image of a still life, and you could find red and yellow and green paper to tear and make an apple, or you could do yellow and green to make a beautiful pear. Don't forget we see shadows here too. You can find purple or gray or dark blue to make a shadow. The other thing I think is a really interesting thing to try to do is find a favorite piece of artwork and See if you can't find papers in the color of this beautiful gold and this beautiful blue and the red of her lips and this really nice sienna color brown for her cloak. So there are lots of things you can do with collage. And I hope you'll enjoy the time you have at home creating and making work. Please post things. I don't know if we have an ability to post the artwork in the end, but it would be really nice to see what everyone comes up with. Thank you for joining me today, and I hope you have a wonderful time with this project.
Thank you, Alyssa, for joining us for class today, and thank you everyone for joining in. Again, she's our featured guest from Art and Soul, Palo Alto. I hope that everyone had a great time and can take this project to continue working and having fun and being creative with all of your art. So our next Activity Hero live class is tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern time. And you can check out our whole lineup of classes on Activity Hero or find us on Facebook or Instagram. We have a lot of special guests planned for you. So just to kind of keep you entertained and having fun while you're out of school. So I hope everyone had a great time, and we will hopefully see you again soon.